We live in really polarized times now. It's a little bit annoying, but it's more scary than annoying. Life is full of grays, and anyone who tells you otherwise is usually trying to sell you something. But what we've seen over and over again is that nuance is really boring. When's the last time that you clicked on a video that said both sides may have a point, right? It's usually, Republican gets dunked on. Democrat looks so stupid after this really amazing point. You know what I mean? Like, even look at some of the biggest channels, Jubilee, ones that are off the platform and, for good reason. I love Ab and Preach, but I can admit that there's a certain video format that I appreciate the most. And it just goes to show just the way that our brains work, right? We like when there's clearly a side that is being chosen and there's clearly a side that is bad, good, bad. You don't need to use your brain too much. And it's nice and simple that way. It takes a lot more brain power and I guess a lot more listening as well, to hear both sides of something and someone tells you both of them have a good point. You make the decision, right? Or even just finding middle ground in general. Jubilee tries to do the whole middle ground thing, but it's usually that you're watching it, you already have like a set idea about something. And typically they do not find middle ground. We like drama. We like, you know, competition. We like having a side to cheer for. Monotheism has a huge part to play in this. I mean, I'm religious as well, but I can see how the views of like there is one truth, there's a good side and a bad side, and how that has changed the way that we look at our world in a lot of ways. And there really isn't a lot of gray. And even in religion, there's not a lot of gray. And especially in business, that's probably why you're here. There isn't a lot of gray. And I'm reading one book, and I don't have the book here, but it's Fooled by Randomness. And I love this one chapter, and it talks about not being married to an idea. You know, on Monday, you might feel a certain way about the markets and about an investment. And Tuesday, you should be able to change your complete perspective if something comes up that, shows that maybe you're not so right. But a lot of people, they choose a side and it's like, okay, I got to stick to my guns on this, right? Think of investments. Someone likes a company and now they're the biggest defender of that company. At the end of the day, if you are not personally involved in that company, right? And you are actually just an investor, think like one. You can see the good and the bad in anything that you start and anything that you become a part of. When you start looking at business in that way, then nobody's actually an enemy. No one's really an opponent. Everybody is another piece of information that you can use towards having a better idea about something. Someone has some choice words for a business of yours. You take and you say, okay, well, that is a perspective and that is information. And let me use this in some way. And this is where nuance and not being married to an idea really shines through. Because while everybody is picking a side, drawing the line, you freely bounce between them. And sometimes this is looked down upon. And I've been guilty of this as well, where it's like, you don't have a side? How are you on the fence? Stop being on the fence, pick a side, whatever, right? Commit. But I respect that a lot of people and more people ought to be like this, where because they can see things from different sides to an extent, there are some things where it is black and white. And there is a good side and a bad side, or maybe not a good side, a bad side, but some people are clearly wrong and some ideas are clearly wrong. But most cases, you should be able to bounce between either side of the fence, and we should respect that more and strive for that a little bit more, because the last thing that we want are zealots. And we don't want people being so fanatical about an idea that they close their ears and refuse to listen to any points that go against anything that they're thinking of. We don't really like working with those people. I know I don't. But if we don't like working with those people, then we ought to see, where we're flawed and where we might show some of those tendencies. You know, business is all about listening because you can't do any business alone. You do need a second party. And the sooner that we can listen to each other and we're not so focused on dunking on the other person and, making a point, but our focus goes towards making a change and making some profit, then the sooner that everybody is better off and we all get to work with each other more effectively. Because business is already scary as it is.